and all of us. Comprehensive research and thorough reports on the most pressing issues. Let's focus on the events that truly matter. Check in current news. In Focus. Tuesday night at 8.
Hello and welcome to the Financial Report. Hong Kong stocks ended higher today, lifted by Chinese financial and energy shares. The Hang Seng Index gained 141 points to close at 22,005. Turnover stood at $47 million. Investors were encouraged by signals from Beijing that China's economy is on track to meet the government's 2013 growth target of 7.5%. Now let's take a look at some of today's most active stocks. China Mobile's down by 25 cents, CNOOC is up by 2 cents, and CCB's up by 4 cents. China Shenhua is up by 90 cents, PetroChina is up by 15 cents, and Tencent is up by $1. Taking a look at the Hong Kong dollar exchange rates, the US dollar stands at 7.75, the pound sterling's at 12.07, the Japanese yen's at 7.86, the euro's at 10.37, and 100 Hong Kong dollars will give you 78.94 renminbi. In overseas markets, London's FTSE's closed for a holiday. Frankfurt DAX is down by 19 points at 8,397, and in Paris the CAC is down by 22 points at 4,047. And that's the finance for Monday night. Join us for the main news after the break.
Coming up, main news and weather report. Your flawless beauty sparkles in the eyes of the world. What are you waiting for? Apply for the ATV Miss Asia Pageant 2013. The next legend could be you, Miss Asia, sparkling 25. China and India. Two fast-growing giants catch the world's eyes. Indians in China, Chinese in India. Many have achieved success in all walks of life, crossing geographic and cultural barriers. They bridge two world's giants. All about documentary, Bridging Giants, China and India, tonight at 10. International affairs that concern all of us. Comprehensive research and thorough reports on the most pressing issues. Let's focus on the events that truly matter. Check in current news. In Focus. Tuesday night at 8. Butterfly, fashion designer of nature. Musk deer, source of luxurious perfume and effective medicine. How can they survive when the exploitation puts so much at stake? Documentary World, Animal Treasure, tonight at 9. Sparkling 25. ATV Miss Asia Pageant 2013 is now open for your participation. You can apply on the following website. Application forms are now available in the following locations.
山美，水美，人更美。走遍大地神州，最美多彩贵州。
Good evening, you're watching the main news on ATV. I'm Belinda Lloyd.
And I'm Brittyn Clennett. Here are tonight's headlines.
Lloyd's corruption trial ends after 5 days with prosecution demanding severe sentence.
200 workers at Express Rail site down tools over new rules which they say are unfair.
UN inspectors begin search for evidence in alleged chemical attack that killed hundreds in Syria. Prosecutors have demanded a heavy sentence for disgraced former Chongqing party chief Bo Xilai, whose corruption trial ended today after 5 days.
They said their evidence is strong enough to convict him on charges of bribery, embezzlement and abuse of power.
But Bo, who surprised the court by mounting a robust defence, branded the case against him as extremely one-sided and arbitrary, and revealed that his former right-hand man was in love with his wife, Gu Kailai. After 5 days of hearings filled with sensational testimony, the trial of ousted Chongqing party chief Bo Xilai ended today. The purged politician, who stands accused of embezzlement, bribery and abuse of power, embarrassed prosecutors at the court in Jinan by upstaging them in what was supposed to be a well-scripted 2-day trial. Bo's combative challenge against the prosecution and witnesses who testified against him forced the trial to run longer than anticipated. As the hearing neared its end, prosecutors presented their closing arguments to support allegations that Bo had taken over 21 million won in bribes, embezzled another 5 million won from a government building project and abused his power. They demanded a severe sentence, saying Bo had refused to admit guilt for extremely grave crimes. Prosecutors insisted the facts are clear and the evidence against Bo is sufficient to show that he is guilty as charged. They criticized him for not only denying evidence but also recanting his own handwritten testimony and statement and making excuses in an attempt to confuse and mislead the judges. The prosecution also argued that Bo had failed to explain why he changed his testimony in court and told him that the facts are objective and cannot be changed according to his subjective whim. But Bo hit back, denouncing the prosecution's case. He argued that the evidence relied on by the prosecutors did not prove his guilt, and he criticized them for depending on testimony from his wife Gu Kailai and his former right-hand man Wang Lijun, one of the key witnesses against him. Bo tried to discredit Wang in his closing arguments, accusing the former Chongqing police chief of being in love with Gu Kailai, saying they were as close as glue and paint. The former Communist Party high flyer also contended that the real reason Wang had tried to seek political asylum at a U.S. consulate was because Bo had discovered the affair. Bo labelled the charges against him as extremely one-sided, arbitrary and subjective, and claimed his written testimony was made against his will because he still held out hope that he could remain a Communist Party member and stay in politics. The former party princeling admitted making mistakes in his career, but insisted that he didn't commit any crimes. With Bo's trial wrapped up, all that's missing now is a verdict. A spokesman for Jinan's Intermediate People's Court, Liu Yanjie, told a press conference this afternoon that a verdict will be delivered at a chosen date, without giving further details. Bo's wife waited almost 2 weeks to learn of the verdict in her trial in August. She was given a suspended death sentence last year for the murder of British businessman Neil Haywood in November 2011. That murder triggered Bo's downfall when Wang Lijun tried to seek asylum at the U.S. consulate in Chengdu after confronting his boss with evidence that Gu had killed Haywood for allegedly threatening her son Bo Guagua. Wang waited only 6 days to learn his fate after his trial last September and was sentenced to 15 years behind bars for defection, abuse of power and bribery.
The Poverty Commission says people living in industrial buildings will be able to apply for a subsidy from the Community Care Fund.
But Acting Chief Executive Carrie Lam said the government will continue its crackdown on owners of commercial buildings who rent out units as homes. ATV's Arthur Urquiola reports.
About 20 people from the Society of Community Organization protested outside government headquarters this afternoon ahead of a Poverty Commission meeting. The commission had agreed to offer a one-off cash handout to those living in poor housing conditions. But those living in industrial buildings would be denied the subsidies because it's illegal to live in industrial buildings. The exemption angered SOCO and other grassroots organizations. And today the commission said those renting flats in commercial blocks will also be able to apply for subsidies from the Community Care Fund.
We have already clarified the legal situation, and so there is no question whatsoever that we are turning a blind eye to the situation of subdivided units in industrial buildings. But it is the consensus of the Commission on Poverty that since this is a relief measure, and since we have clarified the legal position, there is really no reason why we should deny these people who are much in need of our help from being given this subsidy.
Lam, who chairs the commission, stressed that enforcement action will continue against those who rent out commercial units for domestic use.
We know very well that industrial buildings are not suitable for domestic purpose. And that's why I emphasize time and again that the enforcement agency, in this case the Buildings Department, will continue to undertake enforcement action against subdivided units in industrial buildings.
New applications to the Community Care Fund are set to start by early next year. Arthur Urquiola, ATV News.
Hundreds of workers at an express rail link site have gone on strike to protest against new conditions imposed on them.
They have been told that their pay will be cut if they are late for work, and they must stay underground during their entire 12-hour shift. Around 200 angry workers who have rejected new rules drawn up by their contractor downed tools at a MTRC construction site in Kwai Chung this morning. The Chung Wing Road site is part of the multi-billion-dollar railway line that will connect Hong Kong with the mainland's rail network. Workers were notified by their contractor today that anyone who's 5 minutes late will lose half an hour's salary. Those clocking in 15 minutes after they are supposed to start will forfeit an hour's pay. They have also been told to stay underground throughout their 12-hour shift, including their hour-long meal break. The new rules angered the workers who say conditions in the tunnel are so bad that they have to wear masks all the time. They complained that air pollution gets even worse after blasting work.
Not enough of the air condition, not enough ventilation. We are very difficult to walk. Bad smell inside the tunnel. So long time cannot walk inside. But the contractor is standing firm and warned workers taking part in the strike that they'll be sacked. However, the organising secretary of the construction site Workers' General Union, Mak Tai Ching, said workers will stay away from their jobs until the contractor meets them. The Labour Department has sent representatives to deal with the issue, while the MTRC has asked the contractor to resolve the dispute as soon as possible.
We have a way of handling any disagreement or any conditionality. We have spoken to our contractor and request that they urgently resolve this issue with the respective worker as quickly as possible. This could be some misunderstanding between there, and I have the commitment from the contractor that they will do so as soon as possible. The construction of the 26-kilometre express rail link began in 2010 despite strong public opposition over its huge cost. When the $66.9 billion project is completed in 2015, the journey time between Hong Kong and Guangzhou will be halved to 48 minutes. The railway operator, meanwhile, said its first half net profit rose 6.4% from the same period last year to $6.16 billion. Property sales were weaker, but the MTRC had a higher profit because of an increase in rail and rental income.
An Indonesian maid who has accused her employers of beating her has told the district court that she was also never paid or allowed to take days off.
The couple who employed the domestic helper have pleaded not guilty to assaulting her over a 2-year period, which ended in October when she managed to escape. Arthur Urquiola reports.
Tai Chi Wai and his wife Catherine Au were at the district court today, where they had pleaded not guilty to 8 assault and false imprisonment charges. They were charged after their Indonesian domestic helper sought help, claiming she had been beaten by the couple for 2 years. The court heard today that when Kartika Puspitasari started working for the couple in 2010, her clothes were thrown out, and she was forced to wear old ones and not given any underwear. She told the court that her teeth were broken after she was hit with a bicycle chain, and she was also burned with a hot iron. The maid said Au did most of the beating while Tai did so occasionally.